Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Speed Gaming Live. My name is Ted. I'm joined here by Fried Potato in the booth, and this is game number 2 of farfelu vs Sorbius in the Final Fantasy Mystic Quest Randomizer. We've also got Artea doing our tracking for us. Potato, how are you doing this afternoon?
Doing very well, doing very well. Excited to see another race between these two. Last one was very close, and this one, could push it to a game 3, which I'm always rooting for as somebody who's a fan of watching these races. I love watching as many as possible. So I'm kind of hoping Sorbius takes one so that we see, one of one. But anything can happen with these, as we've seen already today.
Very true. We do have our countdown started here. Be starting our runs in 5 seconds. We are on a 10-minute, or sorry, the runners are on a 10-minute delay. So we will not be cursing them directly by any of our comms. But we'll take blame. That's fine.
Right, we can't actually predict what's going to happen to them or commentator curse them because all of this has already happened. We see right away several key locations in the starting area: Bone Dungeon, Wintry Cave, Libra Temple, which allows the runners to push Phoebe here into that Wintry Cave for another check just right off the gate.
Yeah, just for those who are unfamiliar with these tournament flag sets, there are many different differences here, but main ones being things like overworld shuffle. As you see, these locations normally aren't here in vanilla game, and then our runners are also limited to 2 of the 4 available partners for each seed. This seed being Kaylee, which you see here as our starting partner, and Ruben, who would be available whenever they find the Fireberg city.
Definitely, and we've already seen, Phoebe, not an available companion. What happens with those is they just walk off to their next check location for you to get whatever key item they may be gating.
Yeah, on top of that, one thing to note here is we will have to grab Ruben in our party to make sure we can do his little checks along the way. So we do have to be kind of mindful about Ruben's level if we decide to not use him for the majority of the run. Speaking of level, Potato, would you like to go over how the companion levels work here?
Definitely, they start out here at level 7, as you see, and each of them have 4 quests that are randomly generated that you must complete to level them up to 15, 23, 34, and then 41. For Kaylee tonight, we have Defeat Squidite, Defeat the Minotaur, Visit the Pointless Ledge in the Lava Dome, and Defeat Dullahan.
And over on Ruben's side, we've got save 1 crystal, any 1 crystal, visit the Volcano Summit, clear the small Windia battlefield, and clear 15 battlefields. So overall, pretty relatively easy quests on characters here. Character decision could be a big, just a big decision to make at some point for these runners at some point during this run.
Definitely, Kaylee has a lot of utility, but doesn't bring as much to the Dark King fight as far as damaging abilities go as a number of the other companions. So, each one sort of serves a set of purposes throughout the stream, throughout the race, and it'll be interesting to see what the runners choose.
Yeah, on top of that, a way to balance the characters, the developer Wild Ham kind of added a spellbook shuffle. So, for example, Ruben will get the white spell at level 34, which normally he would not have. So late game Ruben is far more viable than perhaps late game Kaylee, who gets Meteor at 41, but early game Kaylee gets Arrow at 15. So there are a lot of little things that these runners are going to have to think of through the entire run in terms of where's my damage coming from and when does it make sense to switch.
Definitely, Kaylee arguably more useful early on with that level 15 arrow, as you said. Arrow, a fantastic spell, the best black magic spell in the game as far as damage output generally goes. Long animation time, but it's certainly going to help the runners clear battlefields early if they're able to get one of those Kaylee quests.
And looking at the actual runs here, we see Sorbius with an early Tree Wither that opens up Kaylee's mom's quest line. And then we saw River Coin here from farfelu, which I believe Sorbius is grabbing right this second. So both of them with early progression if they decide to use it, but both deciding to dive down in Bone Dungeon.
Definitely, a play a lot of runners are going to make with bombs available. Bone Dungeon has a number of checks, and you're likely going to be able to handle Flamerus. They've already got level 6 on their Benjamin, and Flamerus is, of course, the first main boss of the vanilla game, so not terribly high HP thresholds. A lot of times you do see runners take a companion in at level 15 because the life spell will instantly kill Flamers if you're higher level than him, but not an option in this case.
Looks like our runners are going to be almost immediately rewarded for this decision with the Mega Grenades here. One of the Go mode items that are required to get to the end boss. Additionally, if this Flamers proves to be a relatively easy boss, we do get a very early Reuben quest completed, and when we find Firebird, we'll have a level 15 Reuben right off the bat.
Definitely something nice to have. Oh, we see Flamers not playing around, using the Ice Golem Snowstorm ability, I believe that was, to AoE damage and heal.
Yeah, one of the very reasons Potato mentioned a lot of runners come back when they have a slightly stronger partner for that insta-kill for exact cases like this. But it looks like farfelu, barring some unluck here, is going to make it through the Flamers fight, and we get 2 free checks and that Reuben quest, as I mentioned.
Definitely. Only a few axe swings and bomb throws really needed to take care of him, even if he's playing mean. With script shuffle, which is one of the other flags that's turned on for this tournament, the bosses are going to have a variety of abilities, as we saw there. Not the usual Flamerous tool set. So potentially very devastating, even at low level.
You see that little quest marker there indicating for the runner and for us that quest was indeed completed. Very helpful for some quests that you might not know or remember you have. We are rewarded with Meteor there. Pretty nice to have early game. Gives Benjamin some real firepower. 6 minutes in, can't complain about that one bit.
No, not at all. You want to have one of those wizard spells, generally Meteor, White, or Flare, Thunder, arguably the least useful. But having one of those wizard spells available early means you can push a lot of damage to get through some of these fights that you're going to have to get through, to progress through the seed. Both runners heading out now, both of them with the river coin, all the same items in their possession. It looks like there may be a few other things they can touch here in the starting area, but likely they're going to move on and see what else the rest of the world has to offer.
It's like farfelu opting to go right for river coin. I can't imagine Sorbius doesn't do the same thing here.
Right, I don't think there's anything else left. Wintry Cave is in the Foresta region, but we need a claw really to progress very far in there. And there's no reason, I think, at this point to hop in just to check the boxes you could see with the bombs.
We don't have Tree Wither marked on farfelu's side. It's possible that we didn't see farfelu push Phoebe to Libra or to Wintry Cave and get that Phoebe check. All in all, not a huge deal at the moment. Could come back to bite him if that's a necessary quest line we have to finish.
Definitely, if it's something he ends up needing to do, it's at the very least going to require a return trip to push Phoebe. Talk to her, as well as talk to Kaylee's mom in Foresta, which we saw there was close to its vanilla location.
And we like to see this early deviation by the runners. Farfelu opting for the hopefully quick snow crab kill, while Sorbius diving for the free check in a live forest.
Definitely can pick up a free check as well as scout for a few shards. One of the settings again for this tournament is Shattered Sky Coin. The Sky Coin isn't one key item, it is now 24 different shards that you need to obtain throughout the seed, of which there are 40 total. So we will see the runners, scout around a little bit for some of these boxes like that one there Sorbius just picked up to get the required number before they can beat the seed.
Yes, any of the brown boxes in the game, barring a few at the very end, can be randomly transformed into those red boxes, which will indicate to the runners those are one of the shards and have to be picked up if they need the 24. Meanwhile, farfelu kind of getting the business right here from the crab, doing some big damage, not having a bunch of output here, but clearing the hags now with double giant axe. Probably will see a completion here.
Yeah, the crab is not a fan of the axe mace type weapons, But yeah, the crab showing off what the script randomizer can really do to you. A boss that you know you may think isn't going to give you much of a hard time suddenly presents a challenge.
We do see progression on farfelu's side as a reward for that crab fight, getting the sand coin, giving them access to the Aquaria region if they decide to go that route. But smartly, you know, finishing up here up at Firebird, getting Aegis Shield, the best shield in the game, providing paralyzed protection and petrification protection. So huge early game.
Definitely, statuses with the script shuffle are definitely one of the things you have to worry about the most. And having those resistances already taken care of means you're going to have them for plenty of the seed, as well as know you're going to have them at the Dark King fight where you want them the most. We do see here on farfelu's side, you know, and now on Sorbius' side, level forest is located in this region. So that tree wither is something Sorbius is going to be able to turn him right away, as well as get a quest under the belt for Kaylee before moving on. And farfelu, in order to do this, is going to need to go back and do a couple of things. So we'll see shortly if this pays off in more value than just having Kaylee at level 15.
Yeah, very good point here. This early boon in Kaylee's level and getting access to Arrow and Cure gonna potentially make a huge difference here. As Potato mentioned earlier, Arrow being the best of the spells in this category makes Kaylee arguably one of the best companions for early game.
Definitely, especially without Phoebe available. Phoebe usually the other companion who gets some early high damaging spells available to her. But this seed, Ruben, you know, only gets Blizzard at 15. Blizzard, unfortunately, not one of the greatest spells. Visually very appealing. Its effectiveness in battle, though, leaves a little bit to be desired.
We did see Sorbius pick up Gemini Crest from the free check in Alive Forest, as well as Libra Crest, which was from...
I believe that was the Minotaur check, correct?
Minotaur check, yes. Yeah, you're right.
So that's something the farfelu won't have access to for a while, and is a check that we did see Libra Temple in the starting area. So if Sorbius desires, he could go and find out what's behind that right away. And we will know that that's something farfelu won't have for a little while.
Yeah, all said and done, one check may not make the difference, but also one check could make the difference. So let's see if Sorbius does end up going back to Libra Temple relatively early here to figure out what that gives them. But at the moment, opting to go ahead and clear this crab, now that they have got, well, they both had meter, but it will make quick work of this fight. They also, I don't know if we mentioned, grabbed Excalibur for one of the blue battle tiles up in Fireburg.
Excalibur, the best sword in the game, gives you a speed bonus as well as dishing out quite a bit of damage. I personally love to see it. Outside of Mega Grenades, it's probably my favorite, you know, weapon item that you can get.
So if you don't know, all the battle tiles in this game are randomized, and they are color-coded for what they give you as rewards. So those blue tiles that we see, if they a runner completes those, will be given a key item from the pool. And the black tiles will be experience, and the green tiles will be money. So we can kind of keep an eye on what's going through their head. Like, for example, Sorbius doing a black tile here, looking to try to get some early levels on Benjamin.
Definitely. Meanwhile, farfelu found Fireburg in the Aquaria region, picks up his Ruben already at level 15. Also sees that the Sun coin is for sale. Now, it's a hefty cost of 500 gold, but it's pretty much required to beat the game. So, you know, we're very likely to see him look for a money tile and try to get that taken care of, probably sooner rather than later, if I had to guess.
Yeah, farfelu does pop into Aquaria through that Gemini Crest teleporter, grabs the magic mirror, maybe anticipating the ice pyramid play where early mirror may just make the dungeon faster overall, being able to dodge enemies that are not on path.
Definitely. I will always grab the mirror, even for probably the 500 gold if I have it available. Just not having to run into encounters you don't want to saves you a good deal of time in a fairly long dungeon.
It looks like Libra Crest was gating the Moon Helm. While not the greatest thing in the world, it does give Sorbius a fire protection advantage over farfelu, as well as 5 extra defense, which in grand scheme of things, stats don't really matter as much as the actual status condition protection.
Definitely. That fire resistance, though, could prove useful. With the script shuffle, you never know what things even the basic enemies on these battle tiles are going to have in their arsenal against you.
See, farfelu moving Tristram forward because, like Potato mentioned, not one of our available companions can push him forward without grabbing him for the party. He will be waiting at Bone Dungeon for farfelu to do to give him another key item, and then from there we'll move to Fireberg for the last key item check for Tristram. They also obtained the multi-key, so in farfelu's brain, probably trying to think of a routing system they can take to kind of work in Tristram, the last check of Tristram, while also doing the multi-key.
Definitely. Well, they don't have a claw yet or access to that lower level in Fireberg, so they can't quite turn that in yet without that or the Mobius Crest and Windy access. So something, to definitely keep in mind, not to forget about as you move further into the seed and do more things. Sorbius being rewarded for some of those battle tiles he took earlier, not having to say no to purchasing the Sun Coin, although doesn't decide to take the warp and check out the Aquaria vendor.
Yeah, instead opting to do what is readily available, and that's the two relatively free checks that Mega Grenades give them access to. Unfortunately, gated here by a little blocker, but they're Aquaria enemies, so not a huge deal. Let's see if this is the right call for Sorbius at this point in time. And there is a claw now on the table, so yeah, I'd say definitely a great call by Sorbius to do that check.
Definitely a claw. It actually makes navigation in the lava dome a little bit easier, as well as you need a claw to get to several checks, including that wintry cave boss that we've already know is available back in the Forest region. The Moby or the multi key, which we'll soon see probably on Sorbius's side somewhere.
Farfelu
a lot of
behind. Farfelu also deciding to Lava Dome will be rewarded with that claw here in just a moment. Be interesting to see if they go back to Fireberg or try to do Tristram push through before checking multi-key at this point.
Right, yeah, as soon as they have that claw, that multi-key check will be available, so more options on the table for Farfelu. Life picked up for Sorbius here in the second check in Lava Dome. Fantastic spell. You want to have it if you can get it in the seed. Benjamin needs some way to revive the companions, otherwise a lot of fights can go south quickly.
Yes, the only way Benjamin is useful for healing is if you do find that life spell, so finding that early takes a little bit of load off these runners' minds, not having to try to scout out life later into the run.
This is the most enemies on path in Lava Dome I have seen in quite a while, blocking boxes as well as the path deeper in just the very first room. So if these runners want to get any sort of progress in here, they better be ready for some fights.
At the same time, this is the kind of thing you consider when making the decision to come back here later. If you remember that there are 5, 6, 7 fights on the way, maybe you kind of fade dual head until very, very last, because it's just a huge time waste.
Definitely, it's going to take that little bit of extra time. Even if you're well set up, you can't avoid the battles, and that will at the very least take a turn, and that is time spent not moving forward, so good to keep in mind. Good scouting for both of them. They'll know that, but yeah, we may not see dual head for a very long time, even if he is gating something important.
Another slight difference, we saw Sorbius open the dual head boss door while Farfelu opted to grab the second check and immediately leave. So if they do end up having to go back to dual head, Sorbius will have just the slightest 30-second advantage of not having to hit that switch.
Definitely, might as well, if you're worried about coming back or worried about, the last two boxes in the boss room being your shards, might as well flip that switch now and not have to think about it again.
Well, in that same vein, I just realized with all those blockers, that switch actually is no longer a 30-second time sync. That might be closer to a minute to 2 minutes, depending on how many enemies were right in that path.
Definitely. You see a sword picked up. That's going to open up access to Ice Pyramid, which is right here next door, and Farfelu's heading right in to see, at the very least, there's a couple boxes and a key item check on the first floor without heading deeper in. But with the claw and bombs, we do have the ability to full clear this dungeon right now.
There's that multi-key for Sorbius. We'll see where they end up going right now. They're not a boatload of options on the table, but it looks like they will be doing that multi-key check immediately with Fireberg directly next to the multi-key location.
Definitely. Now, I wonder, because they both have the Sun Coin, Sorbius could decide not to step into ice or just to, do a quick peek into first floor, and then maybe move on to the windier region, whereas it looks like farfelu's committing at least to get the checks. You don't have to fight the boss to still get another 2 checks in here, as well as any shards along the way. So we'll see what they ultimately decide to do.
Very true. Looks like you spoke that into existence in a way. Sorbius leaving, not even going to Windia area though, instead opting for Foresta. Let's see what their game plan is here.
My guess is
Oh,
Wintry
Tristram
Cave
too.
as well as Tristram. Yeah, all of
Yep.
this is on the table. A number of checks here, going to be able to get him out of the way. So could be rewarded for this deviation. It's exciting always with the number of options on the table to sort of see the runners choose the different paths while we wait and see which one pays off.
Yep. This also gives Sorbius, if assuming they can defeat Squidite, does give Sorbius level 23 Kaylee, while not giving any extra spells, does give her more health and could make a difference if they decide to go grab Kaylee as their partner again.
Definitely, and she would be readily available. We did see, I believe, the Foresta town is here in the starting area, so a quick grab if you wanted to grab the leveled up companion, and then that would send Ruben just right back onto Fireberg, which outside of doing the mine check behind Jen, he can wait there until you'd rather pick him up again.
Glancing at that quest list again, they realized both runners did opt to not do the pointless Legend Lava Dome, even though it technically was available to them. So maybe Kaylee's not even on either of these runners' mind.
Interesting. That is a very good point. Yeah, the pointless ledge in Lava Dome only takes a claw to access, as well as, going through those at least 2 blockers that we saw. I have a feeling that that's what Sorbius's initial plan was, which is why he sort of dove down and skipped that second check right away, is perhaps he was going to go for that first and then use the claw to come back out and hit the lobby of the Lava Dome a little faster. But the blockers probably dissuaded him from that. He didn't want to deal with those enemies. And sort of at that point, you write Kaylee off, perhaps.
See, Wake Water on Farflu's side as the ultimate drop-down item in Ice Pyramid, that allowing Farflu then to thaw out Aquaria and gain access to that path behind Focus Tower, which I'm not sure either of us have really glanced at this point in time, but could be gating something pretty important and a couple free checks.
Yeah, I mean, you've got at the very least the Spencer check in the back of Focus Tower, which will be available. And then, yeah, well, like you said, whatever else is hiding in that region, which I definitely did not see enough of to remember if there's anything important back there.
It's like Sorbius making quick work of that Squidite, not very surprising. Farfelu diving into Ice Golem, who has a unique little script shuffle thing here where they do an AoE attack, but they could also get an AoE status effect. So if we see something like that, not having flare could make this fight kind of tough.
Definitely. Ice Golem goes down very, very quickly to Flare. Usually 2 Flare casts are enough to take him out no matter, what HP he's randomized. But without that tool, it takes a little bit longer. In the later phases, he definitely has that trick up his sleeve, like you said, to sort of turn moves into AoE. And if a status ailment that you don't resist comes out, it can be bad times.
We do see Sorbius rewarded with the Thunder Rock, one of our other Go mode items. So not immediately helpful, but something definitely nice to see no matter where you get it, as long as you get it.
Right. I'd rather get it early than late, I think, just generally because it can end up anywhere. So if I somehow end up with a Dragon Claw and Mega Grenades and the world's my oyster, it could be anywhere.
Sorbius rewarded going to check that Tristram too, giving them Exit, which arguably the best spell outside of battle outside of flare in the whole game, allowing them to exit from any dungeon, anywhere, anytime. Also, a randomizer exclusive. If you use exit on the overworld, you'll be teleported back to the starting location here in Foresta. So if there's a place that Sorbius needs to get to that is here, they've got an immediate way to get back.
It looks like the ice dive not paying off terribly, except for that wake water. We see a mask, as well as you know, some other non-super crucial items. You know, the charm claw, not the claw you need to finish the game. So we'll see if Sorbius's route ends up putting him ahead, or if he also ends up making that ice pyramid die, because it's a very dense location. It's really hard for a lot of runners to fade very long, I feel like.
Opting to at least check Tristram 3 beforehand. A good plan, because we know what's behind Ice Pyramid. But unfortunately just gets fire for their troubles, which is not a spell we're going to see come out of Benjamin for the entire run, I've got to imagine.
No, there's no point at this point in casting fire. Its damage point has long since passed. Early game, if you need to clear a battlefield and have it available to you, it can do wonders. But at this point, we have Meteor on the table, and we're approaching, you know, the option for some of these tier 3 companions with some of those bigger damage spells.
Sorbius doing a little speed run technique here. Exit puts you out of the last entrance you came in. So by leaving Focus Tower and then coming back in, casting exit here does place them on the Windia side. Not really a huge deal with the movement speed buff the randomizer gives, but still a nice little tech to see from somebody doing the randomizer.
Definitely, understanding how exit works is a very interesting thing, and yeah, Sorbius showing it off right there to save a little bit of time. Now, we do have Summit a Volcano for a Ruben quest here, so I wouldn't be surprised if Sorbius goes on up and gives that a try, and maybe even stays around and gives Medusa a shot. You know, Ruben won't have a major spell at that point, but we do have Meteor available for the runners. So, you know, Medusa is a mini boss that, you know, they could give a shot and see while they're here if she's doable.
And oddly enough, Mask may be coming in clutch here for farfelu. With Volcano being in Windia, all of the enemies in the overworld here are Windia enemies. Obviously invisible to Sorbius, but with that Mask, being able to see them, not running into them could, well, maybe it didn't matter at all to Sorbius. Never mind.
Looks like Sorbius choosing to come up and fight Medusa first before getting the level unlock on Ruben. Now, we'll see if that makes a difference here, depending on how rude Medusa is. But definitely a play. And like you said, yeah, the Volcano without a mask in the Windia region can be a very scary place.
Ultimately, level 23 versus 15 Ruben, not the biggest deal. Only thing we're, you know, getting is more HP. Interesting choice not to get the level regardless. Maybe potentially forgot it was on the table, because when you've got things like Pointless Ledge and Summit a Volcano, it's easy to forget that one or the other exists.
Right, or even get them, you know, mixed up and maybe wondering if the Pointless Ledge quest is for Ruben instead.
Yep, very good point. If they are choosing to fade Kaylee, there's no point in doing Summit if they think Summit is for Kaylee.
Right, and we see, you know, the dogs, as typical, mini bosses themselves aren't always the most threatening part of the encounter with Script Shuffle. Their companions can often, you know, dish out a lot of damage before they're taken down. Or in this case, come with Spooky Bath and ruin your whole day.
Sorbius just desperately trying to get these dogs out of the picture so they can revive Ruben, because I do believe they have life at this point.
Yes, he did pick up life earlier, so yeah, once the dogs are gone, should be a little safer to bring Ruben back up and sort of normalize the fight. Oh my goodness, 10 HP left on Benjamin. 10 HP, you know, that's the dream here. Enough to live is all he could have asked for.
Yes, chat pointing out that fire resistance from that Moonhelm actually making a big old difference there. Without that, Benjamin's definitely dying right to that attack.
Yeah, with only 440 HP, you know, without resistances, you're taking full damage from a lot of these abilities, and every little bit can mean you're surviving a fight you otherwise would not.
Interesting choice. As you mentioned earlier, the Excalibur giving you a speed boost. In that same vein, the any of the claws do give you a magic boost. So Sorbius choosing to hopefully bank on going first over a little bit extra damage, which in the grand scheme of things probably isn't making a difference, but just interesting to see.
Definitely. It can also come into play if you're using something, or if the enemy has something like a confusion move, because the claws do have a chance to inflict those status ailments on your partner if you get confused, whereas the sword would just do damage, so maybe a better option.
Yeah, very, very good point. We do see Sorbius clear the Medusa. Let's see if it was worth doing this early. Mobius
required. Yes, that is definitely something. It's not going to allow him to do any new checks right now, but it is going to be required to beat the game. Meanwhile, on farfelu's side, we see that battlefield he had been spending time in. Reward the Cupid Locket, a fantastic pickup, not usable in battle, but provides a number of resistances.
Yeah, most noticeably being that the confusion resistance now, which, as we've seen in the previous runs, that could be a huge deal.
Definitely. Confusion, one of the worst statuses, arguably, to get inflicted on you, because it doesn't prevent you from acting, it just makes you act randomly. And that can include, destroying your own party members with whatever damaging abilities you have, and that is never fun.
We do see Sorbius does go and get that Summit Volcano quest done after Medusa. It didn't seem to really make a difference here nor there. Farfelu thawing out Aquaria, getting rewarded with the Dragon Claw for making the dive early. Some runners don't make this trek without Venus Key, just because there is another check down there, and it's tough to fade one or the other. But good on them for going down immediately, getting rewarded, and now they've got a go mode item for their troubles.
Definitely, and we're rapidly approaching no mode for us between the two runners. At this point, the cap is the only item left on the table for the runners to be able to go and fight Dark King. That and 24 Sky Shards, which neither runner has obtained at this point, I'm sure.
Yeah, we will have to see Farfelu go back to Squidite to obtain that T-Rock. But like you said, there's no point in getting everything done until you've got shards anyways. We do finally see a peak here. Sorbius at 12 shards, so halfway there. Still a long way to go.
Definitely, but happy to at least be halfway there, I'm sure. Didn't go into Ice Pyramid yet. Ice Pyramid, one of those, very dense locations. Did spend some time in Lava Dome, but, it stopped before going deep where most of the shards are. So there's a lot of locations out there still available for both runners to hopefully have those 24 shards they need total.
I know we didn't point this out on Farflu's side. This ooze formation we see on Sorbius' screen right now, one of the two enemies in the game that actually reflect magic spells. So Sorbius, knowing that they can bomb defend with Mega Grenades to wipe those out in 2 turns, or Farfelu, I can't remember if they did, I think they had Megas, but they just opted to do a different strategy, and they suffered, or struggled far more than Sorbius is doing right now, which is, it's great to see that kind of knowledge come from Sorbius.
Definitely, those defense strats are going to come in clutch this tournament. We've already seen it happen. A number of people have speculated that it's really going to be a difference maker in some of these fights. And it's certainly showing up. It can not only speed up fights, but just make them safer in situations where you're dealing with the script shuffle and you don't know what the enemies are going to throw at you. We see also Farfelu now has 14 shards with those 2 pickups there. Slightly ahead of Sorbius by virtue of those 2 that he just obtained. So both, getting closer to that 24 point that they need.
Not really rewarded for their troubles of doing the Reuben quest. If you obtain a non-progressive item, for example, they just got the ring, but they already had Cupid Locket, they actually don't gain anything because Cupid Locket already gives every resistance from the previous armor. So a dead check, a check that needed to be done regardless, but just something that's kind of a bummer to see.
And another one followed immediately thereafter with the Venus Shield, having already got that Aegis Shield. Getting those downgrades are not what these runners want to see when they're doing these locations. Sorbius still working through this windy encounter, but making good work of it with those defense strats, allowing Benjamin to dish out the damage while Ruben just soaks the hits. He's already, both runners already have level 34 Ruben. White's on the table. He's got 1,440 HP. He definitely has, a number of roles he can fulfill, including just being that sort of damage tank and healer.
Yeah, and in tournament setting like this, I don't see either of them pushing to clear 15 battlefields to get Ruben 4. Just mindset-wise, you're trying to not waste any time because you have to assume your opponent is doing the same. So we'll probably see Ruben 3 for the rest of this run, and Kaylee's probably just a permanent fate at this point.
Definitely. Yeah, 15 battlefields is a big ask. There's 20 total, so you'd be leaving 5 behind, and only a few of them are going to be key item battlefields. So the rest are really ones you don't have to do to get progression outside of that quest. We see Sorbius, doesn't have the Wake Water, so isn't going to be able to thaw Aquaria while he's here. And he also says no to the 200 gold mirror. So either deciding that it's just not worth it, because he wants that money for something else, or that he's just not going to bother going into Ice Pyramid.
He does, though, have T-Rock, which is the difference between him and Farfelu, getting rewarded that Dragonclaw, even though they didn't do Pyramid. So just that location of the Dragonclaw making no difference to the pathing here, which is kind of interesting to see.
Definitely.
Could
now
still permanently fade Pyramid and be perfectly fine.
Yeah, we haven't seen, I think, what's in the back of Focus Tower or what Wake Water actually unlocks yet. But once we do, we'll have a better idea of whether or not that Ice Pyramid Wake Water can be fully faded with that pickup there from Sorbius. Again, the divergence, both runners having similar items at different times is going to change what else they can do and sort of how they have to move through the seed.
So we've got Farfelu finally deciding to do the Tristram quest line here. Will be rewarded with exit, as we already know. A very good thing for Farfelu here. I'm sure he'd be very happy about it. Probably wishes he would have done it earlier once he gets it.
Always. Anytime you get exit from a check that was available earlier, you're kicking yourself a little bit just because it saves that much time. It really is a game-changing spell as far as the amount of time you're going to have in a run with exit versus without.
Farfelu now doing, it looks like they're going to be doing Squidite, assumingly not for the quest, but just to get that check out of the way since they're already here, trying to knock out something easy since it's just on the way. I think, what did we get from Squidite earlier?
I think this might have been the T-Rock. Let's see.
I think you're right. Yep.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
So great decision.
I'm here, gonna need to do it.
Yep.
We know that, Sorbius is coming here to the mine. He's not going to get a ton of progression here. He will get a few more shards in this back room. And we do still have the Aryan check on the table. Ruben's dad being freed from the mine, returns back to the Fireberg area. And I don't believe we've seen what that reward is. So it still could prove useful. But we know otherwise it is just 2 downgrades here in the mine for our runners.
Yes, additionally, we don't have the Tristram 3 key item checked yet by either runner. So this could be a double dip in terms of checking Ruben's data and the Tristram in the hotel at the same time, getting some value from that trip.
Actually, I believe Sorbius went there earlier, and it was just a fire spell.
You're correct.
These seeds, the runners have to deal with the same stuff we are and more. So, imagine having to track all of these locations and what's done, and put this sort of puzzle together. We just get to commentate and watch and enjoy the show, but they actually have to perform all these actions while doing all the same stuff. So.
There's service clearing that Jin. No problem whatsoever. Still gonna be disappointed all the way through, but at least it's done now.
Yep, and he has exit, so his pathing here, he already checked the chest above in the earlier case. So he can exit from this back room rather than looping around. Again, exit showing off just how useful it is as far as time saves.
And there's that overworld exit we were talking about earlier. Sorbius going right back to the beginning of the game, opting to head into Windia to check boats.
Oh, wow. Okay, now this is a play. The boat is only available with the items he has, and right now, we're only missing the captain's cap to be able to fully go to Dark King. Now, the boat can have the cap. There's nothing preventing that. And with that being the only thing left, the quick exit, this is definitely a heads-up play to let him know if this is a really jetty seed, and he needs to focus on getting his shards and levels ASAP, or if he's going to have to spend some more time.
Yeah, unfortunately, did not pay off. It is arguably one of the biggest risks in terms of checks in this game. If it is cap, you look like a hero. If it's not, then you just kind of wasted time.
Definitely, it looks like he's trying to at least make the most of it and grab the shards he saw along the way. He can also, fight some of these encounters. He's got white and flare, so got a lot of levels really fast.
Yeah, the good news is the boat didn't have any blockers on the route down, so not going to be double fighting anything they don't need to.
Definitely, it's always nice, yeah, when you can avoid this stuff on the main path down to talk to Mac. Because if you don't need levels, you're not looking for extra fights, you just want to gun it. At that point, you're in go mode, almost certainly. And yeah, just trying to give Mac his cap so you can drive his boat.
We do see back at Focus Tower here from farfelu, elixir and white, so some value there, not necessarily value you want to see, because elixir just is another quest chain you've gotta push forward. But it could be lock and cap, so again, everything could be required at any point in this run, it seems.
Definitely, and I'm not sure, it was so long ago, I know that at one point farfelu hadn't done the tree wither chain, so I'm not sure if he has still pushed that to level forest and done the first pass. If not, he'll have to do that before he can turn in the elixir. Otherwise, it's just a quick trip to Foresta, and then we go to Windia to talk to Kaylee's mom in the hotel.
According to our tracker, Artea, Minotaur was getting Libra Crest, and we do not have Libra Crest marked on farfelu's side, so potentially has not pushed Kaylee's mom forward with the tree wither, but finding the cap here behind Wakewater, so Pyramid 100% required in the seed. Bad news for Sorbius.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Sorbius. We know now that battle tile behind the Wakewater is certainly required. Now, on farfelu's side, it's just a matter of getting the remaining, I believe, 6 shards he needs, launching the boat, and storing up whatever levels he wants. But at this point, that looks pretty safe. And then going on to take Dark King.
Yeah, most runners at this point are going to feel comfortable 1734 having flare, and then obviously with your partner having white. So like you said, it's just a matter of grabbing the shards he needs and being done with it.
Yeah, not too many shards left to go. So it'll be interesting to see sort of what his choice is for these quick last few shards he wants to grab. But yeah, he is almost there and almost set.
Middle of boat proving fruitful for Sorbius. I think there was 3 shards there.
Wow, that's very nice. A lot of times, the boat, you avoid going to the boat without enough shards for fear that it's not going to have the rest of them. But in this case, the boat coming up plentiful with shards. Now we're back to see these blockers in Lava Dome. It looks like Lava Dome was the choice for farfelu to get the more shards. It's definitely a very dense location. There's a lot of boxes on path, as well as enemies, as we're probably going to see as he moves on through this.
Sorbius making the play finally to go down an ice pyramid. Going to be kind of disappointed to find that Wakewater is the main reward here, because all that means for Sorbius is doing more checks.
Yeah, not the ordering of things that's going to pay out for Sorbius. If that battle tile hadn't been required, the fact that he was able to sort of circumvent, the Spencer check via already having that Thunder Rock could have paid off. But in this situation, that check being required meant that this ice pyramid dive early from farfelu, just set him up long term to come out ahead.
Confirmation right now that we are 100% fading Kaylee. There weren't really any doubts, but farfelu completely ignoring pointless ledge. Just kind of just a visual representation of no Kaylee for me today.
Definitely, with 34 Ruben already on the table, you're probably feeling good. He's already level 18, and as we saw, there's a couple more enemies between him and the rest of his shards. So he knows he's going to be close to that very comfortable level 20 range before he goes to fight Dark King.
Yeah, only reason to take Kaylee at this point is if you really value the cure spell that highly. Ruben only able to cast life, so one heal at a time, versus cure being able to, essentially full heal both party members, assuming they're alive. I know some runners do prefer that cure over the pure damage from Ruben, but it'll come down to Dark King RNG and whether or not that matters.
Definitely. I mean, as we've seen already in races, Dark King can be the ultimate decider. If he comes out of the gate with a bunch of AoE, maybe they'll rethink that decision to bring Ruben over Kaylee. I thought for a brief second that we were both going to be proven incredibly wrong immediately, and he was going to grab a Kaylee there. But as we mentioned earlier, he did not have the Tree Wither early, so did not do the Tree Wither chain into the elixir, which would have put Kaylee there in Windia for him to pick up. So.
Yeah, it's funny when things like this happen, where either forgetting or just choosing not to do a very simple check, like pushing Phoebe to Wintry Cave and checking her, her Wintry Cave check. It looked bad at first because Sorbius, you got to push Kaylee's mom and to get a quest out of it and all this other thing, but not being forced to do that in Farfelu's mind allowed him to make different decisions, which ultimately has put him pretty squarely in the lead here.
Definitely. It all really boiled down to that wake water, being the gate to the captain's cap. The only way to get there was to have done Ice Pyramid at some point. We see Sorbius, is here now in Ice Pyramid. He's going to get that wake water. But at this point, that's going to, not even maybe be a quick, easy check for him to do. And there may be other things on his mind to go check after this.
Yeah, very true. There's a very real possibility. Well, I almost guarantee they're going to check beat Ice Golem here, especially with Flare. But as we know, not going to be rewarded with the cap from it. So just a waste of time in retrospect here. And then again, is that single battlefield going to be the first thing they check? Probably not.
Yeah, I imagine that there's going to be a couple other things in his mind to check, especially since, Aquaria isn't just right here ready to have that wake water turned in.
Yeah, neither runner diving Pazuzu's tower for those two free checks, so I could definitely see that on Sorbius's mind potentially. I mean, there's still a lot of stuff available here. Farfelu getting to Toon Castle at 47 minutes, kind of crazy, honestly. Pretty fast seed here.
Yeah, we are looking at a very fast seed. If Dark King plays nice, we're certainly in for a sub-hour. Although Dark King has been known to decide that that's not going to happen for runners. So it'll be very interesting to see what sort of fight this is for Farfelu, going in at the 47:30 mark.
It's fun little things like that makes the randomizer just so fun to watch races of. I mean, Sorbius deciding to fade Ice Pyramid is the only reason that they are on track to lose this, and it's just, I don't know, it's fun to think of things like that, like one little decision that you did or didn't make is the entire run.
Definitely, it's interesting. It's one of the most fascinating parts about these randomizers. I feel like the way the logic puzzles fan out, and you never know until you're done, what decision was ultimately the most correct decision to make at any given time. And in this case, it looked like for a while that Sorbius was on track to have made up some ground with Divergence, but then it ends up coming back to that wake water, just that early wake water pickup, and Farfelu's general speed at clearing through areas just sort of put him ahead, and then the captain's cap sealed the deal.
Yeah, my initial thinking for Sorbius was I'm fading Pyramid because I'm behind a game and I need to do something I know farfelu won't do. And I'm sitting there thinking this entire run, wow, what a big brain play. It's paying off beautifully. And then just one single item gated by that Wake Water ruins everything. And I respect the play. I think it was not necessarily the wrong play. So it just, you know, didn't work out. And we see farfelu making to phase 3 here with the true form of Dark King activated on his seed, being the Minotaur, which for vanilla speedrunners, that is pretty apt that Dark King, the final boss, is also the first boss of the game.
Yes, I always love when this is the boss sprite that shows up for Dark King's final form. You know, it's very, very fitting to have Benjamin face this, to beat the seed, because as you mentioned, yeah, in the vanilla game, this is your first encounter.
We haven't even mentioned Dark King. It's been kind of easy sailing so far. Farfelu looks like he did use Cure with Benjamin a little bit, so Cure in white has just made short work of phase 1 and 2. Nothing terribly dangerous jumping out right yet.
Yeah, we haven't seen any of those very scary status abilities, Confusion or Petrify, come out, or any sort of just major one-shot risk abilities that the Dark King could randomize into.
And here's exactly what you were talking about here, Potato, on Sorbius' side. Wake Water, as we know, being the gate to go mode, but there are other things on Sorbius' mind as they choose to do Dullahan here. It is a decision. It is a quest for Kaylee. So if they're in their mind thinking Kaylee 4, then maybe this is the play. But as we know, won't actually give anything useful.
Definitely. I don't even know what could be behind here. It looks like it's probably a spell of some sort or a downgrade. Although I guess the Apollo Helm is still on the table as far as things. The Apollo Helm and Gaia Armor. Things runners still actually would maybe want.
And just as fast as it started, farfelu done with Dark King, one of the safest we've seen all tournament. Only taking 3 minutes from start to finish. That's kind of crazy. GG to farfelu on this jet of a seed.
Definitely an amazing time, you know, almost sub 50 minutes really there. Dark King, you know, decided to sort of take the day off today and not put up the kind of fight some of these runners, you know, have seen or maybe go in expecting. So he was more than well prepared at level 18, and it did not take much time at all. GG to farfelu.
Yeah, the second we bring him in here, I bet he's going to say that was the easiest Dark King I've ever had in my life. Speaking of which,
joined by farfelu. GG.
Yeah, good work, farfelu.
Yes, that was the easiest Dark King of my life.
Yeah, nice to see after the run earlier we commented where everything was awful. So wonderful to see a 3-minute Dark King.
Yeah, I think it's nice contrast with for those who watched the race just before.
Yeah, exactly. How good the runs can be and how bad the runs can be. It's doesn't matter how good you are. It's just sometimes these seeds are like that.
Wildham showing off the full range of his seed rolling capabilities here today.
Yeah, that's actually funny because I asked him in the race room, please roll something nice.
Sorbius fights through Dullahan to be rewarded with refreshers, and I think that might be it for Sorbius. An admirable run for sure. Very exciting all the way through, really, the divergence and seeing what was going to happen, because we didn't know until the captain's cap was picked up, you know, really which plays the runners were making was going to pay off. So definitely GG to Sorbius, and GG again to you, farfelu. How are you feeling after that? It was a while before you knew if your Ice Pyramid play paid off, but it turns out it did.
Yeah, back of Pyramid was pretty bad though, but yeah, it's a big difference with our race number 1 that we both full clear the seed. This one I felt pretty good, even if again Cap and Thunder Rock was the last 2 keys for go mode. I just felt I just went every time where the items were. It was every time like when I leave Windia, okay, well, I'll just clear Volcano just in case. Oh, hey, there's Mogus Crest. Okay, I'm done with the first zone of the game. Maybe I'll just do Wintry Cave just in case. oh, and there's I think Thunder Rock, something else was there. Okay, well, I just go where the items are. That's nice.
Yeah,
It's
your
nice.
routing decisions today paid off. Pretty much nothing like a dead check on the way to Dark King for you.
Yeah, pretty much.
I
Yeah,
had a
we
lot of
saw.
questions for Sorbius. I'm not sure if they'll be joining us here though.
I don't think so tonight, but we definitely saw a different path. Sorbius' ultimate downfall, really, again, we talked about it a few times, was just Fading Ice Pyramid. It looked for a while like that was really going to be a play that maybe paid off, since they did have the early Thunder Rock and didn't miss out on the Dragon Claw from Spencer when you were both over in the windier region. But, you know, that one battle tile sort of holding the captain's cap really just sealed the deal.
Yeah, for 5 battles.
Yeah, it was not an easy encounter for you to get through. It took a good chunk of time, yeah, to get that fight done, but you were heavily rewarded right at the end of that.
Yeah, well, at this point of the game, the other options were not that good. It could be Hydra, Ghidra, Delahan, all that stuff. But yeah, I was there, so I'll just clear the battlefield.
Makes sense to me. Now it looks like that puts you at 2-0, and next round your opponents are between Possumorpheus and my co-commentator here tonight, 10. Do you have a preference or any strategies for preparing for the next round? Are you just going to keep practicing and doing what you do?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't know much both of them, so I can't say I have any preference. I'll be ready for both.
I will say, a time of 50:39, really impressive no matter your skill level. So a little scary to see and to know that year would be my potential round 2, I will say.
Yeah, it's a fantastic time to see one of maybe our fastest run the tournament so far, I believe. If not, then definitely in the top couple. One of those fantastic times you love to see. A lot of times they come in closer to the hour mark, but anytime you know, you can shave off big chunks like on this one, you've got to feel good.
Yeah, I don't know if it was in the tournament or if it was practice, but I've seen a couple sub 50. Myself, I did a 48. I think I saw Artia do a 47, but it was maybe not in an official race. But that's yeah, that's I
Yeah,
would
we're
say the
nearing
best.
that threshold, right, of like the lowest times we've seen for this for these settings, right? I really feel like, yeah, that 47, 46 minute range is probably as good as you're going to get in most cases.
Yeah, it would be hard to beat.
Regardless, great showing from both of you. Farfelu, Sorbius, GG's again. Farfelu moving on to round 2. The top 8 here. I've got nothing else for anybody. Potato?
I think I'm good on questions as well. Farfelu, do you have any closing comments or anything you'd like to say before we close things out tonight?
Well, I just want to thank you both again for doing comms, and thanks Artia for the tracking. It's always nice to have a restream. And yeah, I'm looking forward next round.
Yes, wonderful. Thank you again, Artea, for tracking. A lot of help having a list of everything and where it came from. Potato, thank you for being co-commentator yet again. Always look forward to these with you. And thank you to all the viewers who hung around, talked, and you know, got a free show.
Right, yes. Thank you. My pleasure to be here. Thank you all for joining us again, and have a wonderful evening. That is it for us.